have scarred the nation, frankly. I'm referring, of course, to the divorce of Joan Collins from her husband of only 13 months, Peter Holm. So tonight, let's take a closer look at the romance that we hoped would never end. November 1985, Joan and Peter say I do in a storybook Las Vegas wedding. The future looks bright for the TV super vixen and former Swedish rock star until late November 1985, the couple begins to quarrel and grow apart. A few months later, Joan Collins' stepson visits their Beverly Hills home and parks in Peter Holm's usual parking space. He flies into a rage and orders her stepson to leave. Joan, understandably, is furious. In autumn, the New York Mets celebrate a world championship with a win over the Boston Red Sox, but Joan files for an annulment. After only 13 months of marriage, Peter Holm asks for $80,000 a month in support payments. Well, honestly, opinions differ about Peter Holm. Is he, in the words of a former lover, a gigolo who lives off rich women and a weak, pathetic apology of a man? Or is he, according to Joan's father, Joe Collins, a bum? Let's now take a closer look at the notorious parking space incident that was perhaps the turning point of the marriage. Right here, we have reconstructed an exact replica scale model of Joan's mansion in Beverly Hills. Now, here's what happened. As near as we can tell, Joan Collins' stepson was parked right here at the time that Peter Holm drove up. So, when he sees a car in what he thinks is his parking space, he's confused, perhaps even believes he's at the wrong house. But when he finally figures out what happens, he flies into a rage and orders the stepson to leave immediately and never come back. Well, obviously, the question is, did Peter Holm overreact? To help us decide tonight, we've invited an expert on parking, the manager of the garage where I park my car, Mr. Stuart Glazer. Stuart? Hi, Stuart. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Now, Stuart, how would you describe the relationship of a man and his parking space?
Sacred.
You would describe that relationship as being sacred. And if one of your attendants parked in a space that was customarily reserved for you, how would you react?
I'd clock him.
You would clock him. Take him right out of the ballgame. You feel that strongly about that relationship. Thank you very much, Stuart, for your expert testimony. All right, now let's take a look at Peter Holm's demand for $80,000 a month. Well, granted, it sounds like a lot of money, a lot more than anyone would ever need, but in the interest of fairness, a group of NBC financial analysts have put together this little chart showing Mr. Holm's financial needs. Well, right here we see $180 for groceries per month. That sounds pretty reasonable. Over here we have electric bill, $30. Below that we have $8 for old Iron Man comics. And what's left is approximately $79,000 for shallow hijinks with crummy show business friends. So perhaps Mr. Holm's need is justified here. I guess we all remember where we were when we heard the sad news about the breakup, and a few members of our studio audience tonight have agreed to share their experiences. Yes, sir. I see a man at the microphone now. Where were you when you learned about the split, sir?
I was standing in on a line in a supermarket. It was an express line, and there was a guy in front of me who had at least 12 items.
I see.
You know, I wasn't going to make a big deal about it and argue with him or anything, so I decided to read a magazine instead, and that's when I saw the headline that said that Joan had asked for an annulment.
Yeah, and how exactly did you feel at that moment?
Kind of numb. I mean, I'd seen things like this all the time on Dynasty, you know, and the Colbys. I just figured, you know, then it hit me, this is real life.
Right.
I mean, Joan and Peter aren't married anymore.
Yeah, right, exactly. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, and also thanks for a nice acting job. Yes, ma'am, we have another audience member here. Ma'am, how did you feel about the breakup?
Well, I was very upset. He seemed like a very principled man and a great heavyweight champion. And I frankly thought he won the second fight with Michael Spinks in his... And his marriage seems stable. Maybe he just gets restless out of the ring.
Yeah, that's nice, but we're talking about, we're not talking about Larry Holmes here, heavyweight champion. We're talking about Joan Collins and Peter Holmes.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Too bad. Misunderstood. Well, there's no getting around it. This is a complex issue about which each of us must make up his or her own mind. We can only hope that some good will come of it, that Peter Holmes will realize that money isn't everything, and we pray, yes, pray, that the next wealthy woman he takes up with will be a little more understanding of his needs. We're back again. He's very proud of this. Has just named him one of the 10 sexiest bachelors in the United States. He has a brand new motion picture entitled 3 for the Road, which opens on Friday. Folks, please say hello to Charlie Sheen. Hi, Charlie. How are you? Good to see you. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. This is kind of silly. You probably regard this as silly stuff, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
one of
out of my hands.
One of the 10 sexiest bachelors. Who are the other 9? Have you looked at this at all?
No, we got Michael Jordan, Bruce Willis. I'm in there with some good company.
Yeah, yeah. Does that make you feel kind of goofy?
Goofy is a good word. Yeah.
No, there you are. Now, is that an actual picture of you, or was that taken in the studio?
That's on my deck at my condo in Malibu, actually.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
But do you sit there like that frequently? Hi. But you know, if I had a deck like that and a view like that, I'd sit there also.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Come on, get yourself a beer. I'm out here posing. Come on in. Let's talk a little bit about your family. You come from, here's your father, of course, Martin Sheen.
Right, right.
And what was it like as a kid growing up in that atmosphere?
It was interesting. It was, it's been definitely an asset at this point, having had that background and growing up on location with the old man. And
you traveled around with him when he worked?
Yeah, I've seen half the world.
Yeah. You went to the Philippines for Apocalypse?
For Apocalypse, yeah.
Did you meet Marlon Brando?
Yeah, he used to come by our bungalow quite frequently.
Yeah. What were your impressions of him?
He was interesting. He was a bit large, you know, if I can say that safely. But he came over for lunch one day and claimed not to have an appetite. And my mom put some spaghetti or pasta. I'm in New York. Excuse me. Put some spaghetti on the table for the entire family, and Marlon like, thank you, Janet. Pulled it over and just ate the whole thing.
He thought it was his serving.
Oh yeah, he consumed with intensity.
Yeah. And your brother Emilio, how do you get along with him?
Terrifically. He's we're like this. No, he's a good guy.
Yeah. What was that? You were like, what were you going to do? Oh. Is there any thought or any talk about everybody in the family who is an actor participating in a film or some kind of project?
Yeah, we're just waiting for the right material. That sounds trivial. I'm sorry. But,
oh, that's all right.
Just waiting for the good script. So.
Yeah. And what was your high school like? Where did you go to school?
When I was there, I went to Santa Monica High School, Samo High. I had about a 33% attendance record. I just didn't get along with the academics of the establishment. But,
do you feel now that you regret that, or is that still okay with you for not having been there much of the time?
No, not really. It was a learning experience.
We're learning what? What did you learn?
I don't know, that I wasn't going to, pursue higher levels of education, basically.
Yeah. But you were a pretty good ball player, right?
I was a shortstop on the baseball team. Yeah.
And you got a scholarship somewhere?
Yeah, to the University of Kansas. But that fell through and I didn't graduate on time.
Did you graduate from high school?
Is this live?
Yeah, well, close as we can come.
No, I missed it by this much. I was very close.
Well, now you should go back and get one of those equivalent
that's
degrees.
what I did, yeah.
Oh, you did do that, yeah.
But I don't consider that official.
Now, how good a ball player were you?
Good glove, good arm, no speed.
Yeah.
No stick.
No, yeah. What was your average?
About a 222 lifetime hitter.
Yeah. And when you weren't in high school, what did you do? The other 66.33% of the time.
I was, well, actually, my downfall came my junior year when my parents purchased me a car. They got me a nice silver BMW.
Oh.
And I suddenly realized that I had Los Angeles at my feet laid out. Yeah.
And what kind of things would you do when you had your new car? And
Lakers games, video games, movies, just extra.
So you didn't waste that time, is what you're saying. So you were actually out there getting your own kind of education. Yeah. And Platoon, you must have been wildly pleased with the success of that film.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, I enjoyed you a great deal in it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you're now working on a thing about Wall Street. You're sort of an Ivan Boesky, one of those deals.
Right. In fact, Michael Douglas plays the paralleled Boesky type. Daryl Hannah and my father.
Is also
my dad plays my dad.
Is this thing finished and coming out?
No, I'm researching the role right now. I play a young broker.
Yeah.
And I've been here for 2 weeks. We start April 27th.
Yeah. How are things in the neighborhood?
In Point Dume?
Yeah. I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah. I see your car parked. I see.
Yeah, I know. Everybody sees it parked there.
Didn't you just buy a Porsche? You got the white Porsche.
Thanks, Charlie.
Sorry. I just bought a black one.
You just bought a black
one, yeah.
Well, good. But, I mean, don't you think that's an odd little neighborhood there? I mean, it's a great neighborhood, but it's interesting to me that, at one time these families lived there, and maybe others. You and your folks.
Right.
Rob Lowe and his folks, right?
And his brother Chad.
And his brother Chad. And Sean and his, Sean Penn and his family.
Christopher Penn.
Yeah, anybody else?
Isn't Johnny Carson down on White Sand?
Yeah, but he's like a latecomer. We don't take a liking to show people out there. Geez, it's nice to meet you, and I couldn't be happier for all your success. You're a real nice kid.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie, for being here. No, I wasn't smoking. Our next guest is a frequent visitor to this show. Frequent visitor to this show. And this Friday and Saturday, he will be appearing at Chuckles in Mineola, Long Island. I'd be proud to go there. He'll be there actually from April 14th through the 18th. He'll be at the Comedy Cafe in Charleston, South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back very funny man, George Miller.
Thank you. Now, the statement of the year, I think, so far is Jerry Collins, the racetrack owner from Florida. He gave Oral Roberts $1.3 million and said Roberts needs psychiatric help. One time I went to budget psychiatrist, $3 a visit. Oh, you get what you pay for? I'm threatening suicide. He's saying you gotta do what you gotta do. How about that guy Robert McFarland, the guy high up in government? He tried to suicide with a Valium, right? He was in the hospital for a while, and then he got out, and this is true now. I thought this was a nice gesture. It was in the paper. Somebody sent him a video cassette of James Stewart's It's a Wonderful Life, very uplifting movie, yeah. I sent him Blue Velvet. Now he's back in the hospital again. You see the Grammys? Burt Bacharach and Carol Bayer Sager, they won the award for Most Impressed with their own award. The Baby M case, I was really glad for the Stern family that they won. It doesn't have anything to do with a contract. I just don't want to see any kid having to grow up with the name Whitehead. Applause already! There's already applause. I'm feeling good.